Greetings again. You have tuned into the Speakers Bureau, St. Lucie County Public Schools Speakers Bureau. My name is Dr. Donna Mills, and I'm one of the 5 school board members here in St. Lucie County. And we have what's called a Speakers Bureau program. We have it because we want to encourage and inspire and motivate our students to be the best that they can become. And not just our students, but the entire community. To be productive in their lives and to take what you have and use it for your benefit, and then you'll help a lot of other people as well. So we welcome you to the Speakers Bureau again. We're so glad that you are spending time with us today. And we're going to go right into talking about our speaker for today. His name is Donald N. Watson, and he is an attorney, but he's also a partner. He has his own law firm, one of the partners of Gary Williams, Parenti, Watson, and Gary. And he's Attorney Watson. He's a graduate of Yale University. He graduated in 1975 with a degree in psychology. And it just so happens that I have a degree in psychology, so I feel like I'm with kindred spirits here, even though you went on to get your law degree as well. He has been with the firm for 31 years.
Yes.
And he has formerly worked as an assistant state attorney. Donald is also an ordained minister at Resurrection Life Worship Center, and he's been married for 34 years to Paula.
Yes.
They have 3 children and 1 grandson. I think the grandson was just born, right?
Yes, a month old.
Yes, yes, Samuel.
Samuel, that's correct.
Okay, that sounds like a mighty name in the Bible.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Attorney Watson, thank you so much for coming to be with us today. We appreciate you taking out of your extremely busy schedule. And every time I ask you to come and be a speaker somewhere, you are so humble and so kind to move things out the way so that you could do that. So I so appreciate it. The School Board of St. Lucie County and the Superintendent of Schools appreciate it as well. We thank you for your efforts.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Let's get started with you telling us about yourself.
Well, I'm number 5 of 8 children, born in a little place called Elberton, Georgia, real small. But we moved to Akron when I was 5 years old because we were part of what they call the migration because of the industrial opportunities. I was raised in Akron and went there through high school. I graduated in 1971 and then went on to college. I wasn't sure at first what I wanted to do after college. I wasn't sure I wanted to go to law school, but I worked for about a year in social services and decided it was time to go ahead and make the move to go to law school, which turned out to be one of the most important decisions of my life. And from there, it's just been, I've been having opportunities in the law to do different types of law. When I worked as a prosecutor, I had an opportunity to prosecute crimes on behalf of the community. And that was a very rewarding experience when someone who was a victim of a crime would come and say, thanks, you cared, you fought for me, and justice was done. And since I came to the law firm in 1988, we've been doing primarily personal injury, wrongful death cases, which are also rewarding when someone has lost a loved one or has suffered a catastrophic injury, and we're able to get a certain degree of justice for them. So I enjoy the work that I do, but I certainly enjoy working in the community. I love working in the Speakers Bureau. I go to the Head Start programs and read to the youth, the VPK program at Gertrude Walden Center, and that's some of the greatest joy that I have, reaching out to young people and trying to help keep them on the right path so that they can be the best that they can be. Because as I was growing up, there were several people who reached out to me, encouraged me, and helped keep me on the right track.
And we're going to ask you about some of those people as well.
Yes, ma'am.
But tell us a little bit more about how did you meet your wife, Paula, and you know, whatever you want to talk about Paula with without going home and getting in trouble.
Yes, ma'am. Well, actually, I had taken a year off from school, and when I went back, Alex Haley had written the book Roots, and it became a miniseries. So Alex was touring the country going to schools, speaking at seminars and what have you. This one particular evening in, it must have been 1978, I was at the Alex Roots concert, the Alex Haley Roots seminar, and my wife was there. And one of her friends introduced me to her. And we started dating, and we got married in 1984. She's from Belgrade. She's originally from Florida. And so...
so you didn't marry until after you graduated from law school? Right.
I didn't marry until several years after I graduated. But we got married in Belgrade, noon. I teased my wife because it rained real hard that day. But we've been blessed to be married 34 years. Our 35th anniversary is coming up June 16th. And she's a true joy of my life. Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned earlier, this is a special day for you.
Yes.
Share that with us. I didn't know it either. Go ahead.
Yes, this is the anniversary of the day I started with the Gary Law Firm back in 1988. I was the 11th lawyer, and we grew eventually to about 33, but now we're probably right around 20 lawyers. So it's just been a blessing to be with the firm for 31 years.
And I think just about everyone knows the firm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, so, I believe this firm is more known in our community than really any other, seems to me, in my own small world. And so we thank you for all that you guys have done for the past 31 years?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes.
Now, I want you to talk about a little bit more about your educational background. Can you share that with us?
Yes, ma'am. I was the salutatorian of my class, the valedictorian.
We need to hear that.
We were at an inner city school. I went to inner city schools all the way through high school, predominantly black schools. The valedictorian of the class is a graduate of Yale also, graduate of Bolt Hall Law School, and she is the chief judge up in Rochester, New York. Her name is Teresa Johnson Williams. She was always there ahead of me, kind of pulling me forward. Yeah, she was always extremely good academically, and a very good friend, still a very good friend. When we got the opportunity to go to Yale, it was very unusual for someone from our neighborhood, or really maybe from our school and from that area, to go to an Ivy League school. And so we really welcomed the opportunity, went up, and it was an adjustment because I didn't quite have the background as a lot of the other folks who'd come from private schools, et cetera. I remember one calculus class that was trying to beat me, but I would not be beat. I would not be defeated. I ended up getting the equivalent of a B in that class, and just went ahead and graduated and did well. And then when I went to law school, I was able to make the dean's list and receive some other awards, and work with what's called a moot court board. And the moot court board is kind of a system whereby students get to argue cases, actually. And normally it's about real issues, but it's not a real court, but it's great practice, though. I also got to work with actual Legal Services of Miami. As a senior, I was an certified legal intern, so I began actually becoming involved in the law before I graduated. So after I graduated, I worked in legal services for a while, and worked for a private firm for a while, and worked for state attorney's office, and then got the opportunity to come to the Gary firm, and so we've been truly blessed.
Yes. So you mentioned attending Yale.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was back in the day where it was much harder for African Americans to be able to participate in some of these programs, and these educational programs. What was it like for you then? Any challenges back then that you might want to share with us?
There were definitely challenges. Our cultural background was much different from the vast majority of the people at Yale. We were a small minority. We had an African American Cultural Center, which was very, very instrumental in trying to help us get through Yale, but also develop our own culture and appreciate our own culture. Dick Gregory came to speak. Congressman Ron Dellums came to speak. I believe Nikki Giovanni and different ones used to come and do presentations, which helped us stay grounded. Also, there was a black church at Yale, And that kind of helped us avoid or overcome some of the isolations that we felt. But we made some friendships there that have lasted throughout life. And so it was really, really a great experience, great educational experience, but also a great social experience.
Did you go on a scholarship?
I went on a scholarship. There were several parts to it. I had a scholarship from some very, very influential people in my community. Then I had a scholarship from Yale. Then I had loans. Then I had work study. And I also had a stipend, well, something I did during the summer that would kind of help with my tuition fees, et cetera. They wanted my parents to pay a certain amount, but my parents just didn't have it.
No. So you got that through loans. They made sure you were able to get loans to go attend the school.
Yes, ma'am. And I've been able to pay them all back a long time ago. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I know. Yes, my daughter went to Yale and graduated from Yale.
Yes.
And we're kind of still paying those back. And they, she was accepted. It's not easy to be accepted into Yale.
Yes, absolutely.
But they do make sure that you get those loans.
Yes.
So absolutely. If they want you.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you mentioned what you did in the community to a certain degree. Is there anything else you want to share with us about your work in the community, either with your law firm or privately, personally? Yes,
I was blessed to work with Police Athletic League for about 11 years on the board of directors. I was blessed to receive the Volunteer of the Year award for the state of Florida. That was very special to me because it wasn't just about ability, it was about effort. So somehow with all the other things I had going on, I was able to put in the time to really be a positive influence on the youth.
Yes, I can see that with just the time that I've known you, as a volunteer, how willing you have been to come free of charge and do what we're asking you to do to help with children. So I could very much understand why you would be the volunteer of the year.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Let's talk about your childhood.
Yes, ma'am.
A little bit, because you're tremendously successful in your profession and within the community. Did you grow up without challenges? And if you had, which I know everybody has had challenges, share with us a little bit more about your humble beginnings. And I think you told the story once at one of the schools about how you were born.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We'd like to hear that too.
Okay. Well, my father was a brick mason. Both my parents have passed on now, but my father used to go to different jurisdictions to do, different, I call it jurisdictions for law, but he used to go to different places to do jobs. And in the little town where we were in, the doctor was going to come and get my mother and take her to the hospital once she went into labor. Well, he got tied up with some other delivery, and he was late coming to get my mother. So they started off to the hospital, and they hit a railroad track, and then I was born. I came into the world right in the car.
Oh, wow.
That's it. So, but then I was blessed to have a healthy childhood. I was very healthy. My parents always instilled on us the importance of balanced eating, exercise, and they also instilled on us the importance of being happy and being thankful for what we had. I remember when we used to go to school when I was maybe first grade, we didn't have a big lunch, but we always had lunch. We'd have one sandwich, and mother would give us 5 cents for milk, and that would be lunch. And I remember this was a young man who saw that one day and said, "That's all you have for lunch?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't think anything was wrong with it. And he gave me an apple or something. His name was Jacob. And I said, that was such a blessing for a young man at that age to
have that understanding.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And if I ever see him or any of his people, I'd like to bless them because it was just such a special event, special thing.
And round about what age or what grade did this happen?
That was probably first grade. I was probably about 6.
And he was also a first grader?
He was also a first grader, but he had that on his heart. Wow. And that just stuck with me. And so I've always tried to be someone who shares, someone who, whatever I have, I can help someone with it.
So that was a tremendous influence for you, just that moment of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Carried you all through your life on sharing and being kind to others.
Absolutely.
And it came from another student.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
young people, did you hear that? Being kind to others. You can be used too. You can be productive at first grade, kindergarten, second grade, all the way through. Just to speak a kind word to someone else or to share something with someone else, you can make a tremendous difference. And that's the opposite of bullying and mistreating people. You can make a tremendous difference there, but it's for the negative.
Right.
But to do something kind, and think about that. Every day, think about doing something that can make a difference in another child's life. And I'm talking to the children. It's the same thing for the adults, but it amazes me how a first grader
Yes.
to a first grader
Yes.
made such a tremendous impact in your life.
I'll never forget it. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And then I had teachers who really just got behind us and encouraged us. I remember one teacher we had in the band, his name was Spurgeon Moore, and he was a military man. He had been in the military for maybe 20, 30 years, and he did not play. He shaped us up. He made sure that we didn't shortchange ourselves. He made sure that we went out and did our best. And that was consistent with what I wanted to do in there. I wanted to just be my best. I wanted to just put in the time and effort to be the best, because I figure if it's worth doing, it's worth putting in the effort. You don't want to be mediocre. No, right. It just doesn't make sense. You always want to try to do your best. Yes, ma'am.
And so there's another influence in your life, the teacher.
Yes, absolutely.
And how being tough is okay, as long as you know the child knows that you care.
Exactly.
That's what I just got,
yes.
Because he's a military man, he was really tough, he was, but you knew that he cared.
Absolutely.
And that became an influence in your life.
Yes, ma'am.
To be your best and to do your best.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We had another teacher named Ms. Stem. She was our English teacher, and she was very encouraging, very good teacher. And it was amazing. I was blessed to be inducted, and Teresa and I, the valedictorian, were inducted into the South High School Hall of Fame. And we went back there about 2011. And Ms. Stem was there. Our teacher was there. It was so great because she was elderly at the time, but it was just so great to be able to go to her and say, look, we've been blessed. We have success.
So was she still working, or was she came just for that program?
She came just for that program.
Wow.
I think her daughter brought her out. And so, it was just good to be able to say thank you. All of your hard work, all of the time that you invested in us, we've been able to do well, and we appreciate it. And matter of fact, she wrote a book about her students. It was a book of poetry. I've read it, and it's a great book. But she was a great influence on me too. So yes, ma'am.
It's important to go back and say thank you.
It certainly
to
is.
those. And young people out there, if you have a teacher who you have been inspired by, who has been a mentor or someone that really have cared about your well-being, go back and say thank you.
Absolutely.
You can say it tomorrow when you go back to school, or when school starts back up next year, because I think we're going to the recording comes out over the summer.
Okay.
So when you go back to school, go back and say thank you also.
Yes.
To those that really care about you, and you know it, because they need to be encouraged too. We all need to be encouraged, right?
That's right. And those two words can really change someone's day when they hear that thank you. Yes, ma'am. It's so important.
Now you mentioned also Teresa.
Yes.
And so the two of you went to high school together as well, because you both ended up at Yale.
Right. We went to junior high, high school, and college together. Yes.
Wow. And she was your friend throughout that time.
Friend throughout that time, and we're still good friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so that alone says also another way to become successful is to choose your friends wisely.
Extremely important, because everyone is going somewhere, and if someone's going in the wrong direction, we can't afford to let them pull us in the wrong direction. And that's not the way to reach our goals. It's so important to be able to focus on what our goals are, and things that are peripheral or things that would hinder us from those goals. We have to cut them loose, cut those relationships loose.
Yeah.
Yes,
When I went back when I went to college, I was already in my early 30s.
Okay.
And I realized that there were all type of people, even in college,
Yes, ma'am.
that if you don't make the right choices, you can go down the wrong path and you could lose out on even graduating or getting your courses.
Yes.
And one of the things that I was determined to do was sit in front of the class.
Okay.
Because I needed to focus. I needed to be right up there in front of that teacher, looking at every word that came out of their mouth.
That's great.
And so I found myself, no matter how large the class was or how small, I'd be right in that front row.
Yes, ma'am.
And these are choices that we make that determines whether or not we're going to make it in life, I think. You know, there's all kind of, every day we have that opportunity to make choices.
That's the key, making good
But
choices.
Friends are very, very important. I just met a young man who, he graduated from high school, and he said to me, he's in his 30s now, and talking with him, he said, you know, my problem is that I didn't go to college because I hung out with the wrong people. And I should have gone then. I'm in my 30s now, and I still have not been able to, you know, I'm still struggling.
I see.
And
Yeah,
he said it was because of the people he hung out with. So, you know, a lot of times folks say that, especially parents, well, it's who they hang out with. But we have choices on who we hang out with, parents, our children.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't blame it on others. We have to look at what we're doing as an individual
Yes, ma'am.
that is causing us to have trouble.
Absolutely.
And then once we look within ourselves, because if we hang out with the wrong people, that means maybe we're the wrong people too.
That's something to think about for sure. Absolutely.
As far as our kids, you know? So we can't blame it on other people. We have to take ownership.
Absolutely.
And our children have to take ownership and understand that there's certain choices that you make in life that is going to take you down. You said everybody's going to go down the road.
That's right. Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
how you put it earlier?
Yeah, right. Everybody's going somewhere down some road, and the key is to choose the right road. It reminds me of a poem that I guess Robert Frost or one of them wrote, but you got to choose the right road though, for
Can
sure.
you say that poem, or you
I
just
don't remember the exact level, but it's
Okay,
about
okay.
choosing, making a choice between two.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes.
I know you also, because you've come to the school district several times as a speaker, and you brought books with you.
Yes, ma'am. I love to read. I love to share books with children, and we started reading with our children. Well, actually, when my oldest daughter was still in the hospital with my wife, I was up there reading books to her.
You mean newborn?
Newborn, and just kept. And we didn't read just one bedtime story. We'd read a group of books. Even no matter where I was traveling, when I got home, I wanted to make sure that we definitely put in reading time. And we put in playtime. We'd go to the parks and do things like that. But I wanted to make sure that my children learned to read and had a love for reading at an early age. And they all got Best Reader Awards in
Wow.
pre-K.
That is so great to be
Yes.
able to share that part of your story, how you did that, because we have parents that need to be encouraged in that area.
Yes.
And, you know, I was reading to my daughter, who ended up going to Yale as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I was reading to her while she was still inside of me.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I did that with my children. I mean, that
Yes, ma'am.
just increases their chances for success, parents.
Absolutely.
It doesn't say that they're going to be successful, but it increases anything that we can do to increase the chances of our children being successful.
Yes, ma'am.
As parents, we need to.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need lots of books in the house.
Absolutely.
And encourage them to pick up, their books and just have them so available to them.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can get books through the thrift store. I just opened up a child care center for a church. And I went to the thrift store, and all of these books for babies were right there.
Awesome.
For 10 cents and 25 cents. So you don't have to go to the store. You can't, if you don't have the money, many times there's really no excuses.
Right.
Because you could find a way.
Right.
Those that are determined will find a way to get it done.
And the public library has a
Oh,
good
of course.
children's section. I mean, there are a lot of
Our
ways to do it. Yes.
grandchildren, just about every Saturday, they're taken to the library.
Great. That's a great.
That's
good thing.
another great way
Yes.
of getting your children to love reading.
Mm-hmm.
And college is just really all about reading. Comprehending and reading.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned calculus. I went through a calculus class. I barely passed, but I got my C.
Okay, you got through it. You passed it.
But, I mean, outside of a little algebra, a little calculus, I think it's like, usually about 3 math classes or something like that. The rest is reading, understanding, comprehension,
Yes.
remembering. That's it. And you can make it through college. You got to study, but, you just have to have that, a strong ability to read.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And then even more so, a determination to succeed.
Crucial. Got to see yourself successful and make sure that you stay with that path. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I know some young people who you would never think would have graduated from college, and they're college graduates.
That's great.
Or certified in some very strong skill. But, I mean, the college, it couldn't even hardly read. I'm thinking of a young man, but he was so determined that he made it through his 4 years of college. It took him 8 years, but he made it.
He made it. That's great.
Yeah, determination.
Yes, ma'am.
Give us some insight, your insight on what people can do to become successful. What are the ingredients to success in your viewpoint?
One of the most important things is to have a plan, have direction. I've learned later on in life to write things down, write down goals, and go back and check them. Go back and look at the list and go back and make sure that I'm still going in the right direction. Hard work. There's no substitute for hard work. In the law, I mean, we've been blessed again with great success, but people see the results sometimes, but they don't see what went into. They don't see the late nights we're up to 12 and 1 o'clock and then up in the next morning, and they don't necessarily see that, but all of it's a crucial part of it, Then confidence. I have confidence in God first, and then I have confidence in me because I know God made me. And so you got to believe you can do it in order to do it. I know a lot of times that's crucial in sports. You see some people sometimes who don't necessarily have the most skills, they have the confidence and they have the determination and they put in the effort. And that leads to success.
So whatever you do in life, you mentioned sports.
Yes, ma'am.
And I often think of Jordan. Michael Jordan, his story of how he did not make the team.
Exactly.
In high school at first.
Exactly.
And he put in the work.
Yes, he did.
Where he started getting up extra early, going down to the courts, him and his dad shooting baskets, until he became extremely good in his field.
Absolutely.
And he didn't start out that way.
Absolutely.
Didn't even get on the team. Michael Jordan,
he wasn't even the first pick in the NBA. Matter of fact, there were two. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon was the first pick. He was a logical pick. But then there was another gentleman who didn't do very well, had injuries. But he not even being the first pick. But look how it's not how he started, it's how he finished.
That's right.
Look at his career.
Yes, and it was hard work.
Yeah, hard work.
And Michael Jordan says many times when others were going out and partying and doing other things in his area, his field, he was right there working it.
That's it.
So we can't get away from that. So
and that leads to the sacrifice. That's the key. Got to be willing to sacrifice some things. Can't always go to every event, or we got to be able to just say no. I'm not going to go this time because I have to work.
Oh my God, time is out.
Oh,
I mean we're right there, and
yes,
the time is out. Thank you so much for coming back to the Speakers Bureau. We hope that you have enjoyed our Attorney Watson. I have certainly enjoyed it. And thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yes, ma'am.